What is going on, people? Triple M back again with another video. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I would like to talk about what can only be described as one of the most baffling and bizarre managerial appointments we probably are going to see all summer, that being Vincent Kompany to Bayern Munich. We've got so much to unpack, as according to Fabrizio Romano, Bayern Munich are preparing the documents and necessary paperwork to get Vincent Kompany out of his current contract, which I believe lasts until 2028 with Burnley Football Club. They will have to pay around £12 million. Some reports are saying £13 million. Some reports are saying £15 million. Fabrizio is saying £12 million. That's how much they will have to pay to compensate Burnley Football Club and get Vincent Kompany out of his current contract with Burnley. And honestly, wow, just wow. My initial reaction to this news was a laugh. I thought it was a joke. I thought that this was just some paper talk. This was just Vincent Kompany's agents linking him to a job, and it was just the usual stuff we see around this time of the year, which is silly season for most football fans. We see so many reports that we laugh at and we're like, ha ha ha, that's never going to happen, and we move on, right? But this is actually happening. And what's crazy is when you look at the amount of managers who've rejected Bayern, then it starts to make sense. Because a lot of people have labeled this transfer in particular as desperate. A lot of people have suggested that Bayern Munich are deviating from their standards. Bayern Munich are lost as a club. Bayern Munich are very chaotic at the moment, and they have used this Vincent Kompany appointment as proof. But when you look at the long list of managers who've rejected Bayern Munich, according to reports that we've seen all summer long, Xabi Alonso, Ralf Rangnick, Nagelsmann, the Benfica boss, Roger Schmidt, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Thomas Tuchel obviously had the opportunity to stay at some point and also decided to leave because he did not see eye to eye with the board and they could not agree on the terms of him staying, right? There are so many managers, including their current manager, who has rejected them if you are to believe these reports. Even Roberto De Zerbi was a name that was mentioned to potentially go to Bayern Munich Football Club. And so when you look at where Bayern Munich are as a club at the moment and you ignore all the other context, I think it's quite evident that they are suffering from an identity crisis. And I think their managerial appointments recently kind of show that. I think Bayern Munich don't really know who they are, not just in terms of style of play, but just everything. The club culture, the club ethos, and just what they want to achieve. I think the people who are pulling the strings at Bayern Munich are not clear on that, because to go from Nagelsmann to then go to Tuchel, to then want Nagelsmann back, and then realize that Nagelsmann doesn't want to come back, then to try convince Tuchel to stay, then realize that Tuchel doesn't want to stay or that you guys have some sort of agreement, then to start going down a long list of managers who are nowhere near anywhere similar to Tuchel, not just in terms of trophies won and in terms of experience at the elite level, but just in terms of style of play. A lot of the managers they've gone for have been very contrasting and very contradictory to someone like Thomas Tuchel. Even Nagelsmann was different to Thomas Tuchel. So it just seems like post Hansi Flick, Bayern Munich haven't really been the same club. And yes, they were still winning Bundesliga titles after Hansi Flick left. But I would like to think that most Bayern fans want to see their club sustain long-term success, not just in domestically, but on the continent as well. And I'd like to think most Bayern fans, in addition to winning trophies, want to see their club behave in a way that makes sense, behave in a way that makes them feel like this is the Bayern Munich they grew up watching. This is the Bayern Munich they fell in love with. This is the Bayern Munich that makes them want to spend their hard-earned money and go watch them week in, week out at the Allianz Arena, or if you're a global fan, be invested online. And I just feel like Bayern Munich haven't really been doing a good job of that recently. Now, there are a lot of red flags when it comes to the appointment of Vincent Kompany, mainly his lack of experience at a big club, and mainly people have a lot of doubt and worry around how he's going to deal with the scrutiny, not just from the German media, but Bayern fans and the wider footballing community, rival fans and fans of other European clubs, right? There will be a lot of people over-analyzing, over-criticizing, and just laughing at Bayern Munich Football Club even before a ball has been kicked about this appointment. And that's just something Bayern fans are going to have to eat. But I think one of the positive things about this appointment is that stylistically, this guy is clearly a very good coach. He clearly is a very good tactician. I think Burnley's season, both in the Premier League and the season that got them promoted in the Championship, are great pieces of evidence to show that this guy is able to implement his style of play regardless of the level of quality he has in his team. Now, some people will use this as a stick to beat Vincent Kompany with and say he is naive, he does not want to adapt, and we should not be celebrating a manager trying to play progressive football when he clearly doesn't have the tools, right? Football is about winning, not necessarily about being, aesthetically pleasing on the eye. And that argument does hold weight. It is a fair and justified argument. But it's also a little bit ironic because he's now going to a club where he is going to have the quality of players. He may not have all the profiles that he's going to want, but I mean, with a few transfers and maybe a little bit of a squad overhaul, you would expect that to change. And I think it's very clear that his style of play will work at a big club. One of the luxuries of managing a big club is that you do have the quality of players and it's easier to implement a progressive style of play. It then just becomes more about how you deal with egos, how you deal with the level of entitlement, how you deal with the club politics and the bureaucracy of the dressing room, right? Because certain players are untouchable and certain players have to be the centerpiece of your system, not because you want them to be, but because those guys are the face of the club. So I imagine Harry Kane will be one of these players where he will be virtually undroppable, but that's not going to matter because, you know, these are quality players, and Vincent Kompany, I believe, will be able to get a tune out of them. You know, he's demonstrated that he's a brilliant man manager and a brilliant tactician. You know, it's just a question of whether or not he can do it at the elite level, and it's a game of wait and see for Bayern fans and the wider footballing community. But yeah, man, it's a bizarre appointment. You know, it's a really, really bizarre appointment. But the more I think about it, it kind of sort of makes sense. We'll just have to wait and see if it will be a complete and utter disaster, or if Bayern Munich, in hindsight, will look back on this and think it was one of the most genius appointments ever. We'll just have to wait and see. It's been your boy Triple M. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.